Good evening. Yes, I was listening to Obama. He said a lot of good things. Most of the things he said before, and we really hasn't seen much change in this time. It was great. We had an African American president for the first time, and I was alive to see that happen. My children, my grandchildren. However, in terms of the politics, they haven't changed. He addressed America, but African Americans were left out of this whole equation. I talked to a friend today who has been struggling to keep her house. She's upside down. I had been persuading her to stay and fight. She informed me that she was leaving the home and going back to Texas. That made me so sad. People think the situation with foreclosures and the upside down housing is over. It's not over. It's just not being talked about by mainstream America. And so it's a real issue. Our communities are being regentrified. African Americans that have lived in these inner city communities for over 70, 80 years are being pushed out. They're being taxed out. We need rent control so that families can stay together, stay in some decent housing, stay in convenient communities where they've been all their lives. That's a real concern of mine. People can't afford the apartments in the community anymore. And the jobs, like, Sherry mentioned, you need 3, maybe 4 jobs. McDonald's is not a living wage job. No one can live off that income. And so people are being torn away from their children. We have many single parent families in our community. That's not being addressed. The services are not there to support them. The child care in Minnesota is one of the most expensive in this country. I heard that statistic today. That's got to change. Our children are not being educated. Our children are not graduating from high school. The majority of our children are not going to college. They're going to prison. What's wrong with that equation? Don't tell me that the prison population is going down. It's increasing. And many of us in the African American community feel like we're in the state of emergency right now. We're fearful for our children. We're fearful for our young adults. We're even fearful for our elders, particularly our males. It's like modern day lynching. They're not being hung from trees, but they're being shot by police in the street. And so there's some real crisis in our community that people are not addressing. People are pretending that it doesn't exist. I guess they're hoping that this whole issue around Black Lives Matter is going to blow over. It's not. The media said we had a couple thousand people marching in Minneapolis and St. Paul yesterday. We really had more like 4,000 or 5,000. I was there. I witnessed it. So people are beginning to rise up and know that they have to come out of their homes and do something to make a change. And I'm so proud of our youth because they have not been involved in the political process for many years. And our leadership has failed our communities. So hopefully we're having some new leadership that will emerge. But in the meantime, the youth are realizing that they do have to do something. They do have to get in the streets. They do have to march. They do have to be vocal. They do have to do sit-ins in the restaurants on Sundays, during the brunches like they're doing in California. And I am so proud of them. I will be there with them until the end. And America has to realize that this racism has to stop. It can no longer exist. It is tearing not only our communities apart, not only our country, but it's tearing the world apart. People are tired of it. And we cannot survive as a human race. And the pollution in our communities is overwhelming. We have less than half a mile from us. We have an incinerator, an industrial incinerator. People bring their garbage or whatever and burn it. You don't see it in the daytime, but if you go out at night, you see it and you smell it. Many of the families in this community have issues with breathing, asthma. We're even told during certain times by the media not to go out, and the air is not breathable today. So there are a lot of issues in our community that are not being addressed. People are not even talking about it, and they're pretending they don't exist. This has to change. And these two political parties that have been in power and in the bed with each other forever can no longer run this country. A change is coming. And thank you for having me on to share. And hopefully other people will share some of these same ideals and begin to talk with each other more and organize more. Churches at one time did a lot of organizing. That's beginning to happen again, but we don't have to be in churches to organize. We can organize amongst ourselves in our homes. So thank you for having this event on air. We needed to talk about these issues, and thank you for inviting me.